I would like to request Professor Sachidanand Sinha to kindly chair and moderate the session from here. Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you. I think, Professor Khadria was doing the job and he should continue doing it because I missed the initial part. But nevertheless, these are, now let's go over to Professor Rupamanjari for her initial comments on the budget, particularly with research and development and science and technology. We would like to hear from her.
Okay, thanks a lot, Professor Sinha, and thanks IMPRI for organizing this. It's a huge panel, and I was down with a bad flu, so I was coughing a bit. So unlike myself, for these kind of sessions, I prepared some slides. Ria, you have those? Do you have my slides, or should I just share my screen? You are on mute.
Ma'am, you can also try sharing.
Just see if you can.
We can see it.
Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. Perfect. So
we can see it.
Okay. So since it's education, SNT, and R&D, I would not touch on the school education part at all. I'll stick to what I am familiar with and as directed by Professor Sinha. So science and technology, research and development. So I'm not going to get into the numbers that well. Aditi has done a great job and Pratibha really gave us a very good idea, very critical analysis of the school budget part. But I think it goes without saying what I'm going to say, and I'll be brief because it's a huge panel. We are running a little late. The basic things that I keep on finding missing year after year. And there's a lot of good points made in this budget. So there's some thoughts in the right direction, but maybe it's falling short in some way. So it goes without saying for whatever we are doing, and this is not just self-propagating, but education is the most important pillar in nation building. And I'll take it all the way to higher education, because what we call demographic dividend will become a demographic nightmare if you do not impart the right kind of education. And I think that's really is the point. So the budget, you have seen already, but in STEM, AI, and innovation, the allocation is, I tried to sort of compile whatever is there in that. The ones in red are the ones that I'm going to touch upon, just not about the amount, but the principle that works behind these kind of allocations. So one thing that before, I would not spend much time on this because others have already touched upon some of it. This 10K tech fellowships and all that you see, expanding IITs and medical education, medical all right, but there is a stress on IISc Bangalore and all the IITs for good reasons. I know they would deliver because their processes are efficient, but it sort of is not representing the whole of India, and in some ways falling short of universities are totally out of this special favors. And if that is so, then we are not really addressing the deficiencies or challenges of India. And it's not just deficiency, it's also an opportunity missed. So focus on only IITs, focus on only IISc Bangalore is something that I think we should really seriously look into. And I'll come to this point later again. But let's look at this Center of Excellence on AI in Education. There are several missions. Nuclear energy is probably something that I'll just touch upon, and R&D and innovation, what we are planning to do, time permitting. So first, it's something that is close to my heart that I keep on try to sort of build consensus on this, is that one needs to understand technology. Technology can, of course, address big issues of access, affordability in the higher education system, while maintaining maybe reasonable quality. If you put in some systems in place, it also allows personalization according to the learner's choices and abilities and speed, and that you can do it at scale. So it's all very good. So we do need digital literates as well as digital enablers or innovators, people who should be familiar with digitization, people who would actually create such digital tools for all of us. So this is something, no debate on this, so we need to do that. But much of the problem that we face today deals with infrastructure and the divide between have and have not. And that's something that we saw during COVID time as well, when we went online, et cetera, for access. So, but that sort of is a problem. But I want to make a bigger issue is that one needs to understand, with all this craze for AI and all, justifiably, but we need to understand and keep in mind that technology is not a solution by itself for all our problems of food, clean air, clean water, healthcare, energy. You cannot eat a computer program. You need food for that. So research, for example, in basic sciences, will continue to be the foundation of inventions that the world has been waiting for. And those inventions, as opposed to what people call innovation, which is just as a commercial sense, but food, clean air, clean water, healthcare, energy, cost of it is rising, would need you to put in physical solutions. Physical kind, if education leads to R&D of this physical kind to keep the desperate dream of a sustainable world alive, then AI, artificial intelligence technology, will be an enabler or a multiplier. So if you multiply 0 by any large number, the result would still be 0. So I think there is not sufficient emphasis given on how we are lagging behind in physical solutions of the kind, and education has to lead to R&D of this physical kind. The second point is a push for nuclear power. I mean, this is a debatable thing, and I think one can spend an hour debating on it, but certain facts are very clear. What has been proposed in this budget is that there should be a nuclear energy mission for research and development, 5 SMRs. SMRs are small module reactors to be set up, and 2047 nuclear target is 100 gigawatt. And if you look at the worldwide, I mean, I took the data from the internet, hopefully they're correct. So nuclear power, as share of total power consumed, India is at 3% of total power consumed, whereas France leads this race with almost 72%. So 3% is really minuscule, and we should probably look at it, given that India's commitment at COP26, which happened in 22 February, 3 years back, that the commitment was 500 gigawatt of non-fossil power by 2030. Now, the only point that I have in this, well, actually two. One I'll make immediately, and the other one is going to be a thread throughout, that 50% of this commitment of non-fossil power should have been from renewable energy. That's what India stated in February 22. So what happened to that? So how is the Union budget supporting R&D of sustainable technologies, solar, wind, electric vehicles? How is R&D in climate change being funded? How is the budget encouraging research into circular economies, recycling, sustainable resource management? It's a huge problem, and India has also been used as a dumping ground. Is the budget providing any initiatives to attract young talent to science and technology research careers, research and development careers? That's extremely important. It's easy to learn a program in 3 months' time. You don't need to come to a higher education institute for that. But there are serious things that one needs to do where you need to really attract young talent and train them. And some of it is good to have international collaboration. The money gives all these directions. And in the budget, I didn't see any special initiative to do any of this. The third point I want to talk about is the mission mode. Of course, we want to be reliant in all these big things. Semiconductor manufacturing has been going on, 5G, AI, quantum computing. So I've been involved with the National Quantum Mission as an expert from the beginning. So most of you know what's going on, but 6,000, initially 8,000 crore was promised, then it became 6,000, then in reality it became 4,000, and now it's even less. But in 30th September last, 4 thematic hubs were set up in ISC and IIT. Again, ISC and IIT only. But these hubs are supposed to form these technical groups in quantum computing, quantum communication, quantum sensing and metrology, and quantum materials and devices. I don't expect you to read this chart, but this is something we study a lot, that what is the status of quantum computing. People have predicted to more than 10,000 qubits. IBM, for example. Qubit is not the full story, but number of units that you have for a predicted quantum computer by IBM is 10,000. Where are we? In late August 2024, we produced a 6-qubit quantum processor. Now, it's a great beginning, no doubt, but it's totally lagging behind whatever is required to make this machine working. Now, McKinsey has estimated that 5,000 quantum computers will be operational by 2030. How many from India? I'm not sure. The hardware and software necessary for handling the most complex problems won't be available till 2035 or later. So we need more quantum algorithms, which is severely missing. And I don't see any initiative in India where this is a great opening, but not much actually has been happening. Look at quantum communication. In February 22, a joint team of DRDO and IIT Delhi showed a 10-kilometer secure communication link. 10 kilometer. Then in September, this is using fiber. But in free space, we have gone up to 300 meters, whereas in 2017, China had established more than 2,000 kilometer ultra-secure ground link. Now, so we are lagging behind a lot, and now it's good to have these kind of initiatives, but something is missing. And without proper planning and investment, the tragedy is that we'll always lag behind and play only catch up. And that's not really the vision that I think India should go for. So what I find lacking year after year is no shortcuts to investment for capacity development. And that's something, we have a 6,000 crore budget for National Quantum Mission. We don't find enough people. So the capacity development and quality capacity development is absolutely necessary. I was working with some people to look at the energy data. We don't have any proper recording of any data, record and analysis. And if you don't do without data churning, of course, there cannot be any insight. So just throwing some numbers without any basis, without a proper record, without proper analysis of what's the consumption pattern, what's the generation shortfall right now, and what exactly should be the solution, we don't have those insights in the policy budget. And the last point I want to make is, how will the effectiveness of the budget allocation be monitored? This is something that's important to keep in mind, because year after year, I've been also saying it, partly is getting done. And so we need mechanisms that are to be put in place to ensure that funds are used efficiently. The point I'm making is this cannot just be a financial audit. There's a lot of technical and educational expertise and experience that is needed for it. So this is something that we must have, a report card, because we don't seem to be learning from the past missions. And so that's really is my point. And I would stop here right now and take up some issues later on. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rupa. Thank you for throwing up very significant points, particularly with on the question of research and development. We would certainly look forward to hearing from you, particularly on science education, because there are a number of universities where science departments do not have adequate number of teachers. We have nearly about 60% of higher secondary schools where science labs do not function. They don't even have science in the curriculum in those schools. So I think there are larger questions which also would partly answer the points that you were talking about, that there are no takers, so maybe there are no candidates who could perhaps man different kinds of labs. So I think the beginning has to be done where it really needs to be done. So we'll come back to that to
Yes,
hear.
that's what I mean, capacity
Yeah.
development,
Yeah,
and
that's
very
true.
honest capacity development. You can't just
Right.
throw money. Money can only do
That's true.
something.
Absolutely. And that's
Yes.
also visible, if you have 50,000 centers of what you call it, Atal tinkering centers and so on
Tinkering,
and
yeah.
so forth. Yeah. And you don't have, it has been going on for nearly about 4 to 5 years, and we have no assessment of how these tinkering labs are working, because they're all working in collaboration with the private sectors, you see, and they're located mostly in the urban localities. The rural and small towns have been completely bypassed. So, and this I'm saying on the basis of the work that I did for the Karnataka government recently, and we did extensive field work and visited quite a few number of schools, both urban and rural areas. And Ms. Kundu also highlighted the question of what is really happening with the deprived communities. The school segment is very important. I just wanted to point out that if we need to look at the statistics which the government of India has just brought out in public domain. This is the EU-DIAS data. And you'll be surprised that with whatever efforts that we have been making, and despite all the commitments of the national education policy, the number of children that has gone down from 2020, 22-23 in 23-24 is over 1 crore from school. And this is something that needs to be, the document really tells you that, there is, the figures are not matching because we are really trying to match the Aadhaar and all that, which I don't think is correct, because the process of EU-DIAS data collection is school-based. And if the schools are reporting decline in the numbers, then this is something which really needs to be looked at.